Hello and welcome to Watching Movies Late at Night, and I want to preface this review by saying, yeah, I do bad horror movie reviews. Yeah, I know, what a big shocker, but I just want to say that because I personally find it much more fun to riff out of a bad movie for, I don't know, monsters makeup or some sort of idiotic plot, but yeah, I personally find that sort of stuff much more fun than to go down and review and analyze sophisticated films like Synecdoche, New York. However, when I popped this one movie in my DVD player, I didn't expect to see what I saw. When I expected schlock, I got shit. This is the direct continuation of that shitty-ass 30th anniversary edition of Night of the Living Dead, Children of the Living Dead. Why children? Because I wouldn't be surprised if actual children had written this film.
Okay, even that would be giving it far too much credit, but really, this movie is so bad I can honestly say that anything a little kid would write would actually be better than this film.
It's something else that this movie even came into conception. Now, as I had said earlier, it was a direct continuation of the 30th anniversary edition of Night of the Living Dead, which, if you didn't know, added a pointless storyline and replaced the music with bland and boring ambience that would make Aphex Twin want to go deaf.
Now, the reason for the 30th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead to have these unnecessary changes was because the original movie was written by one John Russo and, of course, George Romero. After the first film was released, the two had differences over how the zombies should be handled, which led to Romero creating Dawn of the Dead and Russo doing Return of the Living Dead, which played out more as a decent zombie comedy that popularized the notion of zombies going for brains instead of human flesh.
As we all know, for Romero's series, it went on to make multiple sequels, as would Russo's Return of the Living Dead as well. However, for some unknown reason, somebody thought it was a good idea to create a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Because as we all know, there was some loose plot threads in that movie, apparently, that needed some resolving. So what does Children of the Living Dead bring us? Let's get on to that.
The films open where Night of the Living Dead ended, except now in color and in an overly distracting blue tint. The hell is this shit? Is it supposed to take place at night or something? Didn't the Night of the Living Dead end in the fucking morning? What the hell is going on here? So people come in to kill off the living dead, with Tom Savini making a rather bizarre cameo, considering how a decade or so ago he did an actually good remake of the original. Either way, with his scene you can easily pinpoint one of the problems that this movie has.
Okay. Great. Okay, bullets. Come on. Huh?
Yeah, you notice how Tom Savini's lips aren't even moving half the time and his dialogue sounds overly clean as if it was added to in post-production? Well, it was, because apparently director Tor Ramsey had deviated from screenwriter Karen L. Wolfe's script, which led her to kicking him out of the editing room and for her to also re-record most of the lines of dialogue that I guess he changed around, which leads to some really unsatisfying results because it's partly the reason to why this film sucks.
While ADR is a common practice for movies with cases like Robert Rodriguez's El Mariachi, where it was actually the only way to achieve sound, El Mariachi has its dialogue and sound effects mixed together in a way that sounds like it was clean and in a way sound like it wasn't actually recorded much later.
However, here it's painfully obvious and nonetheless distracting, as for one, now the editing is focused on trying to cut away from mouths to prevent syncing, and overall, the sound isn't clean and not well mixed enough for it to fit in seamlessly with the footage, making the end result of the film sound really unnatural and artificial.
This scene with Savini is a great fucking example. As per with Karen L. Wolfe wanting to keep to her script, I guess she wanted the viewer to know what Savini's character was thinking during this scene for some fucking reason.
It comes off as unnecessary since in the film it just succumbs to Savini sounding so bored and unenthusiastic about everything. And plus, we really need reassurance that a survivor in the zombie apocalypse needs to stock up on ammo? Like, no shit. What was the purpose behind adding mumbling dialogue like this?
You stay right there. Look pretty. That's right. Here's a little present for you. Here it comes. Surprise!
None. It's pointless.
After Machete's brother over here continues to mumble to himself, he goes and checks out a nearby barn because the plot needed him to. Here he finds kids inside the barn because...
You know when a movie's good when it can't even explain its own essential plot points. I mean, no, seriously, why are there kids in the barn? Were they there from Night of the Living Dead? If so, who took them there? And why a barn and not a house or something? Seriously, it makes no sense and it's never properly explained. Somehow Tom Savini knew to find a barn with kids in it. That's all we get!
One of the kids makes Savini check out the higher levels of the barn, which leads him to ultimately get killed. Way to go, kid, you've outdone yourself for killing Savini.
Hughes, what did you do?
Although, to be honest, I think you did him more of a favor than anything else.
Get me out of this fucking movie.
So, who is this super zombie and why couldn't he get killed by Savini?
The first question gets answered far too many fucking times for it to even be relevant, while the second question doesn't get answered at all. The very thing that the plot focuses on isn't even explained by any means.
Cut to a mere 14 years later.
Yeah, fuck Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead to showcase the continuing effects of the zombie apocalypse on the human race. I guess last night's events were just another night of pest control.
We're introduced to the same group of kids from the beginning of the film, now grown up and also given the abilities to have overly obvious ADR.
It's too bad she didn't have to work instead of Lori. She's just...
They're in a van traveling along to a concert, but first have to stop at a grave.
Might have to review this later.
The grave they visit just happens to be the mother of Abbott Hayes, a serial killer that apparently traumatized the area so fucking much the whole goddamn town can't stop talking about him.
Abbott Hayes.
Abbott Hayes.
However, after seeing the barn that's conveniently placed nearby, Steve Buddy over here decides to throw the bus off the cliff. After their funerals take place, the zombie from the beginning returns now to kill off some grave robbers because his whole role in the plot is to kill off people and purposefully make them zombies to form an army against the living.
Hey, that sounds a whole lot like Land of the Dead. Seems like George A. Romero's a fucking plagiarist.
Again, why the fuck does this one guy have the intelligence to want to form a fucking army? Like, why is he the one given the intelligence here? I just don't fucking get it. They never explain it properly, if at all. Later on at a motel, the new main character Matthew enters the picture as he's helping his father renovate the cemetery where Night of the Living Dead happened to turn into a car dealership. As expected with this film, his performance is also bland and overdubbed because that's not getting fucking tiring to watch.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
At the diner, Matthew encounters Lori, the girl that causes Savini to die in the beginning. Aside from being that, she also willingly provides exposition that surely the audience doesn't have nailed in their heads at this point. Of course, about Abbott Hayes. Fucking hell.
So who is this psycho?
Psycho. Wow, this movie did my obligatory Psycho reference so I didn't have to.
She dressed him up as a girl, sent him to school as a girl, took him around town as a girl. Nobody knew anything. He was raised as Alana. Everybody in town knew him as Alana.
It's horrible.
What? Did I pop in Children of the Dead or fucking Sleepaway Camp?
So at this point, the movie is pretty fucking bland and boring as it's just about Abbott Hayes building his zombie army with even more bland scenes with Matthew and company. Eventually, Lori and Matthew hook up and the two get ready for their dates as the zombie army continually grows.
Zombies?
The two then abort their date plans and head for the diner for some reason, as Laurie provides exposition once again, this time with a weird fucking filter on the screen. Seriously, what the fuck is this shit? Did I lower down the brightness on my monitor or something? What the fuck is going on? Why does it look like this? Because, like, I don't fucking know what this shit is. The climax builds up with Matthew and Laurie contacting the police, and the one sheriff from earlier in the film that was with Savini also comes in to provide exposition that, for once in this film, isn't fucking about Abbott Hayes.
First occurrence was in '68. There's conflicting rumors how it all started, but there was another outbreak in '86. They weren't very thorough then either. Or maybe there was some truth to the contamination.
Contamination?
We were never able to prove anything.
So wait, are you telling me that this film, Children of the Living Dead, is not only a direct continuation of the 30th anniversary edition of Night of the Living Dead, but also the third part of a trilogy that also includes Return of the Living Dead as well? Karen L. Wolfe, do you have no sense of continuity whatsoever? Sounds like you just really wanted to tie those films together by a fucking shoestring.
Oh my god, I can't believe it, a zombie army out there, the whole 5 of them. All of the exits are totally blocked despite them only covering the front door.
Seriously, movie, you couldn't find any more extras to fill up the screen? That's the zombie army we should be afraid of? And you're just gonna show that with no shame? This movie just gives no fucks, does it?
Alright, I'm getting sick of this fucking movie. So the whole big climax happens with Matthew, Laurie, and the cops killing off the zombies and all, but of course, Abbott Hayes escapes because he's special for some reason. I still don't know at this point, and this movie's already over.
And that was Children of the Living Dead.
Besides following up an already horrible re-edit of an already great film that would have made George Lucas cry, Children of the Dead spares no bounds in being boring as all hell and irritable with its lackluster and uninteresting plot, which is further cemented by actors giving less than stellar performances.
Hi, I'm Matthew.
I wasn't looking for fucking Shakespearean acts, but at least something with substance.
This film is one of those cases where pretty much everybody who's worked on it hated it. Now, from what I know at least, it wasn't more or less the director's fault, but rather the screenwriter Karen L. Wolfe's.
As I said earlier, she basically ruined this film by forcefully reverting changes done by the director, who made an earlier cut that emphasized more of the action and less on dialogue. This cut was liked by the executive producer of the film, but apparently not the executive's daughter, Karen L. Wolfe.
Yikes.
The director goes on to write in this long response about his experiences on making the film, which painted an optimistic image of this film possibly being somewhat good at some point, despite the aforementioned production problems, only to get the film revoked and reverted back into a pile of shit.
Overall, it sucked. Now, while Karen L. Wolfe wasn't the complete source of all what's wrong with this film, she just certainly helped to it. Believe me, there's a lot more production issues going on with this movie. Bottom line, throughout all the troubled production and all, what we get is a terrible film. It doesn't need to be watched, so if you ever manage to encounter it, just ignore it like how you would with a zombie. Just run away from it. Or just shoot it. Although I don't know why you'd want to shoot a movie, but that's besides the point. We've been watching movies late at night, and I hope to see you guys at dawn. Excuse me, I have some business to apparently attend to.